The Mazda lineup of SUVs will provide safety, performance, and capability on your journey ahead. From the three-row Mazda CX-9 to the first-ever Mazda CX-50, our sales team is ready to guide you to the SUV for your lifestyle. Shop the Omaha Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda. Visit us online for your next Mazda SUV at woodhousemazda.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, RotoGrinders, welcome back to the Week 17 DFS Roundup. My name is Alex Dunlap. I am the editor-in-chief at Roster Watch. I'm the host of Roster Watch on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Saturdays 7 to 9 Eastern, Sunday mornings 7 to 9 Eastern, at least for the remainder of the regular season, which we are at the end of, joined as always this week by my co-host here on the Roundup for what might be the last one of the season. CJ Kaltenbach is on the line. Siege, where the hell are you? What the hell's going on?
Day from hell. I was supposed to be home by now. Still in Orlando. I'm actually at Top Golf of all random places. It's just been one of those days I really would like to forget, but whatever, we're here, so we're making it work.
I'm looking at the I have the page pulled up like on Grinders Live, dude. The photo that they put on they put of you here while you're gone is just
Did they use the Kid Cam one? They always use the Kid Cam one every time they get me on audio. Is that what they use?
Yeah, I don't know which one it is. It's fantastic though. Anyway, it's you got a real smirk on your face, like you don't like the take somebody had. So you're back from Orlando, or you're heading back from Orlando. You probably had a lot of time to think about this slate. Well, I mean, there's just so much. It's just 16 games. There's just so much to get to. It could feel a little bit overwhelming. What are your initial thoughts on it?
I think that there are great value running backs, but I think the mid-tier at running back has just been completely ignored. And I feel like, for example, on a normal week, I feel like Jamal Williams would be like the chalkiest of chalk plays, and I've heard like one person mention him all week. So it's a weird week. I think people just are really so desperately want to play 3K running backs, but like 5K guys, 6K guys are still in good spots. Like you can go a little bit contrarian with your roster construction. It's not like there isn't a 3K wide receiver value play. There's a ton of those too.
Jamal Williams might be my favorite running back play on the whole entire week. So I'm glad to hear that you like him, and glad to hear that you don't think he's going to be too chalky. I probably, since you're kind of at a remote location, I always kind of depend on you to tell me what Chris Jimino's ownership is. I'll get the ownership projections pulled up so we can have that to reference during the during the show. But yeah, Jamal Williams, if he's not going to be very highly owned, that certainly makes me more excited to play him. As far as the we have some quarterback takes here on the show that we'll get to. But it looks to me like when you look at the wide receivers, just before we get into all of this, because I don't think we have any takes on these guys, it looks like Julio Jones and T.Y. Hilton are just going to be mega chalk compared to the rest of the group. How do you feel about a situation like that where you have two guys with such concentrated ownership?
Well, let's talk. Julio's our first take, so I think we should go talk about it with the first take.
Oh, that is our first take. There you go, Siege. You don't even have any of the information pulled up, and you're one step ahead of me here. Let's go ahead and get to the first clip. This comes from the DFS Pick 6. This is Evan Silva and Rich Rebar giving their opinion on Julio Jones, which was a lot different than the one than Eric Crane had coming into it.
Julio Jones, he will probably start the game and then just say, no, my pinky toe hurts, I'm out of here. So, I'm savage. I'm so sick of Julio Jones, man. Like that guy.
Do it, man. Push the button.
I'm not no, not going to happen. Reeves, I'll tell you, you're going to get like 20 seconds talking about Julio, and then I'm like giving you the X button, man. Go ahead.
Hey, you forgot that Reeves is the Julio whisperer.
I know, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to click the button, man.
Well, I mean, like I said, that game is the one where both teams have to win. Oh, no. Carolina has just been getting destroyed by lead wide receivers. I mean, since their Week 11 bye, they're allowing 303 passing yards per game. 14.4 receptions, 230 receiving yards to wide receivers, 8 touchdowns since week 11 to wide receivers. Like I said, it's been all wide receiver ones too. It's not these nickel and dime guys. I mean, some of the ancillary Bucks guys had big plays against them. Humphreys and Godwin had 2 long splash plays on them. But, I mean, Evans had his first 100-yard receiving game of the season against them. Thielen got him for 100, a couple weeks ago. It's been all dudes, just all wide receiver ones. Julio got him for 6 for 118. I mean, when you look at his price and you circle in games where you got projected usage and the game script and what they're going to be doing, they ain't going to be running the ball on the Panthers. I know that. So, hey, man, push the button.
I don't want to push the button. Tell me not to push the button, please.
Every lineup.
No, that is totally not the button I want to push. Are you kidding?
I'm putting him in every one.
Okay, so Evan Silva says every lineup. Eric Crane was on huge tilt about it because Silva said that Lord Reeves is the Julio whisperer, that whenever he goes big on Julio. I remember that Lord Reeves said in one of these last weeks before Julio went bananas that he'd never used him all year, that this was the week he was going to use him, and he used him. He went big. Now Reeves is saying he's going to use him again. We have a Carolina defense that basically over the course of the last 5 weeks is somehow our matchup tool, the proprietary matchup tool at rosterwatch.com, has the Carolina Panthers defense as the number 1 defense for opposing fantasy wide receivers this week. So the very best matchup Julio Jones is going to have this week. Everybody's going to be on him. We just said earlier, if you look at Jamino's ownership projections, he has Julio Jones at 32.5% and T.Y. Hilton at 27.5%. So those 2 guys are going to be really, really chalky. How do you feel about Julio Jones this week? And the question I asked before we even got into that clip, how do you feel about just with so many different plays? We have players from 32 different NFL teams on this one slate, about ownership percentage being that concentrated on those 2, especially at a position that brings such variance as the wide receiver.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to chalk plays, I want them to be playing for something. So, like, Julio Jones is a piece of chalk that I'm much more willing to eat than I would say, like, T.Y. Hilton, who has, like, nothing to play for. Like, he could just play a half. He could play 3 quarters. Like, he twists an ankle. Next thing you know, he's out. Like, I would much rather have my guys have something to play for. Because, if they get hurt and they treat it like a playoff game, they might fight through it instead of, I'm just going to rest for 2 hours on the sideline. So I think I'm more willing to eat the Julio chalk than the T.Y. chalk. I'm with Evan. I think I'm going to be that guy who has 100% Julio and just, understand that it's Julio Jones. It can backfire, but he's just by far and away the best play. I mean, James Bradbury has been so bad. I can't, not be super – by going 100%, I can maximize how overweight of the field I am. Anything less than 100, I just can't swallow in my head.
T.Y. Hilton is a guy you're not as high on. I'm trying to decide how high on him I am. It just seems like in the spots like this where it's a good spot, he's indoors, he's at home, he's on the turf, it's a fast track, that just the Texans just give up big play after big play. The individual matchup is putrid if you're a Texans fan, and just brilliant if you're a T.Y. Hilton or a Colts fan. As far as his pricing this week, he's 3x that 27% of the time this season. But you're just looking at a guy where his average on DK of 12.28 fantasy points per game is just so much higher than his median at 7.7. It just goes to show just, if you're looking at it by measures of central tendency, he's just such a boom bust player. I think everybody's just buying the fact that he's going to go boom this week. Are you going to have any T.Y. Hilton? Are you just how do you handle T.Y. Hilton? It's the one I'm having the most trouble with.
That really just depends on, the news. So, it's so hard to just be like, I will do this, I am going to do this, because, I don't have news. And, we're going to get news. Like, Adam Schefter, you're going to get, 50 tweets from him tonight about guys sitting, guys playing, expected roles. And that's going to change so much.
Right.
For example, just before we got on,
we got the Charcandrick West news. So now we have Akeem Hunt in play.
So now Akeem Hunt chalk is not nowhere near as bad as it probably was 2 hours ago. And there's things like that, certain situations. I still don't believe the Jaguars actually are going to play anyone. I think it was a smokescreen to get a week of practice. I think that's going to come out at some point over the next few hours. if that changes the whole situation on Tennessee, where I'm at on Derrick Henry. So there's other. So
Hold on, I'm sorry. I was just checking my phone for a text. Did you just say you think this is a DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry smokescreen?
No, I said I think the Jaguars playing guys is a smokescreen.
Oh, the Jaguars playing guys. All right, sorry. Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, why would they do that? Why would they do that? We know that Coughlin has done it.
Because I have Leonard Fournette versus CMC prop bets, and they love to just screw me over.
He's only up by what, like 18 points or something right now? That's gonna hurt, man.
It's like 8.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was something like that.
If Fournette sits, I'm golden. If he plays, I'm in huge trouble.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I kind of like McCaffrey this week too, but yeah, I get it. I don't see why on earth you would play your starters. And before we get on to the next one, Siege, do you think that everybody being on Derrick Henry at 5,500 whenever Jamal Williams is 5,200, you could pay up like 1,000 more to maybe get to a Dion Lewis? We find out that James White is out. Do you think that Derrick Henry going up against it, let's say the Jags defense is at full strength, that's a good, they haven't been as good against opposing runners recently, but it's still a good defense. How do you feel about Derrick Henry?
I love them, but like those 3 guys you mentioned, right? Imagine if you just you think all 3 of those guys are good plays, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if you just fade all the you fade Stephen Ridley, you fade all the cheap running backs, and you play those 3 really good running backs in really good spots that very few people are going to play together, and they all crush. Now you have a contrarian lineup build, and you have 3 of the best players on the board. So I'm going to be I'm very interested in that tier. I think it's going to be under-owned. If this were week 16, all those guys would be 35% plus. I'm not sure they get there this week.
No, I don't think so either. But to be able to do it, you're going to have to pay down somewhere because you want to pay it for Julio. And this next clip we're going to go to, our producer Dave is doing a great job getting these thrown up for us. This next clip we're going to go to is from the Daily Fantasy OGs. We got another clip from our guy, Head Shopper. This is his take on a value quarterback that a lot of people are going to be paying down to this week if they don't want to pay down for any of these crappy Akeem Hunt, Stephen Ridley, Malcolm Brown, these types of running backs. This is Head Shopper's take on Patrick Mahomes.
Chop Patrick Mahomes. Where do you come out of him? Cheap quarterback. We know he's got dual upside with his legs. Can he get anything done here though in Denver against pretty tough defense?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the ownership projection is this week as it comes closer, because just when they made the announcement today, I saw a lot of talk about it, a lot of buzz about it. So maybe he's a chalky guy, and if that's the case, then that's a pretty easy fade. He kind of screams of like Johnny Manziel kind of thing here, Yep. I remember the Johnny Manziel week, and he was there's no way at this price he can't miss. He just can't miss at this price. But he did miss, and it can happen, especially if you're willing to rest Alex Smith. Then you're probably going to rest Kareem Hunt. You're probably going to rest Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. So who's he going to throw to? I don't know, man. Just serious question marks I have about him. So if I think he's going to be chalky, even the least bit, then that's an easy fade for me. And the rest of the offense doesn't interest me at all. I mean, I don't know. If you're going to rest the big guns, then I'm certainly not going to take a chance on Demarcus Robinson as the go-to guy.
All right, there you have it. That was Head Shopper from the Daily Fantasy OGs, the podcast he does with Notorious and Beer Makers fan. And he was saying that Patrick Mahomes, if he's going to be chalk, don't play him. If he's not going to be chalk, there's some upside there. Patrick Mahomes is a guy who I'm very torn on because he's a player that through my football evaluation company, Roster Watch, that we've done just a whole ton of work on through his pre-draft process, a guy who I've seen in numerous game situations. He's got the biggest arm I've ever seen of any quarterback I've ever evaluated live. He's a gunslinger. He's prone to making mistakes, and I just don't know how that's going to all come together going into Denver to play his first game as an NFL quarterback. Before we get to Siege,
the Mazda lineup of SUVs will provide safety, performance, and capability on your journey ahead. From the three-row Mazda CX-9 to the first-ever Mazda CX-50, our sales team is ready to guide you to the SUV for your lifestyle. Shop the Omaha Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda. Visit us online for your next Mazda SUV at woodhousemazda.com.
We're going to have Dave put in another clip really quick that Siege doesn't even know that we have. It's a secret clip that we did not tell Siege about because he was on the GPP lineup builder this week. Our executive producer, Simon Edwards, said that we had to get this clip in of Siege and his opinion on Patrick Mahomes.
What's your guys' interest level in Patrick Mahomes at 6K? I know it's Denver, but we know this guy has a cannon and can run the football as well.
Zero interest. I know you're big high on this kid, Siege, but look, it is what it is. I mean, gonna go at altitude. It's not a great spot for him to get cute, in my opinion. I think for $600 more per set is a significantly better play. Who's he going to be
Tony, you got a better answer for me?
Throwing the ball to?
I definitely don't like Mahomes. I mean, the total's 38. Denver, I expect Denver to play pretty good too to finish this out. I just can't see Kansas City going crazy with in this spot. Like, what's Kansas City's playoff? What's their deal?
They're locked into the 4.
Locked into the 4, so they can't move.
Can't move.
Yeah. Like, I love Denver if Kansas City can't move. I don't see them scoring many points, so I can't get on him. Another sneaky guy that I was looking at as you were scrolling down, like, no one's going to play. We all have the same take about Jacksonville, I assume, that they're not going to play people the full game. So if they're not, Tennessee needs to win. I kind of like Mariota unowned against backups. Like, no one's going to play against Jacksonville's D because they're worried about it. Mariota's been bad, but if he gets in there against backups, it could snowball in a hurry for him.
I would play Patrick Mahomes first. Like, he's got rushing upside through the nose. Like, he can rush he could rush for 60 yards on his touchdown.
But again, he's not playing with first-team players. He's going to be playing with, like, I don't even know some of these backup wide receivers on Kansas City.
Albert Wilson.
He's not going to be having Kelsey throwing them. He's going to be throwing the ball to Orson Charles or whatever these guys.
Orson Charles.
Oh, man. I'm going to play someone that's $7 million.
Are you going to stack it up with Orson?
I don't even know if he's on is he even on the Chiefs?
I have no idea. The first name I saw him, I clicked the tight end.
You clicked the tight end.
All right, there you have it. That was my very co-host here, CJ Kaltenbach, this Siege on the GPP Premium Lineup Builder, available to incentives members at RotoGrinders. One of the many videos that's kind of behind the paywall here that doesn't come up on the regular Grinders live feed, but certainly always very helpful. Siege, who were you on that show with? It was Big T and who else? I forget the guy, the baseball. He talks about mostly baseball.
Spotlight.
Oh, yeah, Boggs Light. So that was with Big T and Boggs Light. And those guys don't like Patrick Mahomes as much as you. Give us your pitch on Patrick Mahomes.
This is simply an audition game for the 2018 starting job. They want him to be the guy. They want to trade Alex Smith in this offseason. So they have no running backs, as we mentioned in the last clip. They're down to Akeem Hunt, who's hurt himself. And they're trying to use this as an audition game. So what are they going to do? They're going to have him throw the football. And they're going to have him throw the football a lot. They're going to have him run design runs. I just think that the ball is getting in Patrick Mahomes' hands so much. I'm not evaluating them. I'm not saying this in terms of talent, but in terms of, like, role of the offense that I'm expecting this week, I view it like a Russell Wilson type situation where the ball is always going to be in his hands and forced to make plays. And you're telling me I can get that for min price? I just can't pass that up. It's one of the ways I can pay down and let me pay up for those mid-tier running backs. And I'm not losing any upside. Like, yeah, the floor of Mahomes is, like, 0. I understand that. It's a rookie quarterback. But as we saw with Deshaun Watson, you know, if you were a week early on Deshaun Watson this year, you know, like, you made a ton of money that week in tournaments. So for me, it's a situation where, yeah, that's a very high floor, but when he hits the ceiling, you know, we're talking about tournament winning ceiling.
How do you feel about and I want to ask you about how you feel about him versus Jacoby Brissett, because that was who it looked like Big T was sort of bringing up as an alternative that he'd rather pay up for, at least on FanDuel. I don't play FanDuel because our attorney general here in Texas is an absolute criminal who sent a cease and desist letter to them, and they, unlike DraftKings, back down like cowards. But on DK, the prices are pretty similar. Not as similar. I think he's 5,500 as opposed to the 4,700. So a big difference there. But on FanDuel, there's not as big a difference between Jacoby Brissett and Patrick Mahomes. But I just want to ask you, like, does it worry you at all that we know that there's no surrounding cast, right, as far as the runners? And so we know that could be good for Mahomes in some sneaky way, because maybe he'll have to run the football more, have to take it more into his own hands to create, like we talked about him being a gunslinger. But with all the talk about Vance Joseph and his future there in Denver, I mean, don't you think that they're going to be coming with their ears pinned back on this rookie, trying to get a win to finish out the season strong for their coach? Are you worried at all about a rookie going into Denver? If it wasn't going into Denver, if it was anything, even against a better defense than Denver has been on paper recently, I think I would fire him right up. Do you think I'm worried too much about the mystique of just going into Mile High, worrying about the altitude, all this stuff like that for a guy playing his first game?
Yes and no. Like, you're assuming that they want Vance Joseph to stay. What if Denver wants him gone?
I would want him gone, but right.
That's my point. So, like, what if the players really hate him and it's completely no show?
Yeah.
It's week 17. If this were week 15 or 14, it would probably be like, keep it in small dosages and large field tournaments and all that. Like, I would just. But in a situation like this, if Denver no shows, let's just say Denver no shows, and you know it, like you watch one series and you know their heart's not in it. How much Patrick Mahomes would you want in that scenario?
Is this a Lee Steinberg quarterback head-to-head matchup? Is this Paxton Lynch versus Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
It is. So what this means is Paxton Lynch sucks a lot worse than Mahomes. This could mean shorter fields for Mahomes too. Paxton Lynch.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So I think that could offset it a little bit. Yeah.
It's like you're getting the rushing upside of like one of the big name rushing quarterbacks, and for getting it for min price. Like, I get there's all this sort of risk attached, but the upside, like if he gets 2 rushing touchdowns, he could throw 3 interceptions, but if he gets 2 rushing touchdowns, he's gonna get the tournament value.
Oh,
and you watch him at Texas Tech, he loves to run the football in the red zone. He loves to.
Yeah, and he's big, and he's a big kid. He's big, he's strong. I mean, I'm thinking more and more about Patrick Mahomes the more and more that we talk about it. I just worry, man, going to elevation, going to Denver, being a rookie, first game. Anyway.
I get all that.
Yeah.
But what is Patrick Mahomes not shown up in big games in his entire career?
I haven't seen him in a regular season NFL game in my life. I've seen him in a lot of other situations.
But he shows up. Like, here's the thing. Like, yeah, you've never seen him in an NFL football game. You hadn't seen Deshaun Watson in an NFL football game. How many quarters did it take you to realize he was going to be really good in the NFL?
How did Bill O'Brien not realize it in camp? What a donk.
He might have. He might have noticed it.
I don't believe the stuff that he noticed it, but Rick Smith told him not to rush him into the fire. I don't believe any of that reporting. I think Bill O'Brien was wanted to go with Savage, but that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing, and I kind of agree. All right, let's move on to anything else on this game, Siege?
No, I think we can move on.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This next clip comes from. Let me get my notes pulled up here. Next clip here comes from PFF. We finally got another zinger from our boy Scott Barrett about and I cannot believe it. This is a guy. Dave's gonna get this one pulled up for us. This is a wide receiver for the New York Giants that Scott Barrett says he's thinking about going all in on.
I want to look at the wide receivers. I'm seeing 2 very cheap, fantastic wide receiver plays. One is Roger Lewis, who in a typical week, again, this is not a typical week, I honestly might be going all in on. Over the past 3 weeks, I'm telling you, hear me out. Over the past 3 weeks, he totals a league high 32 targets, a league high among wide receivers 60.3 expected fantasy points. Evan Ingram might not play. Sterling Shepard might not play. He hasn't done much on this usage, but just I've made enough money in DFS over the years to just know to chase this usage at this salary, because I know typically it regresses to the mean, and he should be in for a big week, even though it's just a middling matchup.
Okay, that was our guy Scott Barrett from the PFF show that Dan Bach sat in there for. It's usually Britt Devine. And Scott says he's going all in on Roger Lewis. And this was even before we got the news about Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram both being out. I mean, I guess it makes a little more sense now. Siege, what are your thoughts on Roger Lewis? The targets over the last few weeks have actually been up. It should probably translate to volume at some point. Roger Lewis is a player that in college showed a lot as a prospect. I don't know, man. I don't know if I got to pay all the way down to 3,800 wide receiver this week. What are your thoughts? Have you tinkered around at all with Roger Lewis?
Yeah, so I'm biased when it comes to Roger Lewis. Let me get this disclaimer out of the way. That guy made me so much money in college. DFS,
he was a sick college player. Yeah, he was a sick college player.
Oh, he was amazing. It was like 15 catch floor. He was just an absolute beast. Just like, I remember when he played Purdue and he was like 15% owned. He had like 30 first half DK points. RIP college football DFS. All seriousness, I like Roger Lewis. He's one of those cheap receivers I was mentioning about at the top. I just don't love taking huge, heavy positions on teams that have absolutely nothing to play for, because I just don't know what they're gonna do. And and they could change it as they go. They'll be like, oh, Roger Lewis has had a really good first half. We see him as our slot guy next year. Let's just bench him. We don't want him to get hurt. Like,
there's no way they see him as their slot guy. They if anything, they see him as the other outside receiver option,
right?
With Shepard in the slot.
You know what I'm saying.
Right, you're saying it right.
I just don't know what these teams have to do. They have nothing to play for. They're just trying to get in and out of the game. And so I don't like taking huge positions on guys in situations like that. Like Jamal Williams is an exception because there's really no other running backs on the roster. So, that's a little bit of a different story. But typically I try to avoid these non-contenders. So for me, it's a situation like I'll have a bunch. I'll be way over the way at the field on them. But
you're gonna have a bunch. You're gonna have a bunch of Roger Lewis.
Yeah.
Way over the field. Let's see what Jamino has him at. I'll bet you Jamino has him at sub 5%. Yeah,
that's
sub 5%.
What I was thinking when I said over. I was gonna say I should have asked for the ownership projection first, but that's what I assumed it would be.
Right. Sub 5. So pretty interesting there. So you say you don't like these guys have nothing to play for. What about your boy Josh Doxson? 44.
I'm not playing Josh Doxson
against this putrid secondary of the Giants.
How long is Kirk Cousins going to play? How long is Kirk Cousins playing before they bring on Colt McCoy?
I like Colt McCoy to Josh Doxson. Colt McCoy's a good quarterback, dude. I like Doxson this week.
Reminder that Alex works for a Texas football station there. No homerism at all there.
Yeah, right. Analysis. Nothing here either with the tattoo, with the graduated in 03, none of that stuff. Yeah, but I do think the Colts are good as far as can you think of a better backup quarterback in the league? Really, he's one of the best.
R.I.P. Jimmy G.
Yeah, right. That would have been the answer previously. Okay, so
Mahomes. I'll take Patrick Mahomes over Colt McCoy.
There you go. Hey, well, I think I'd take Patrick Mahomes over Colt McCoy too. Obviously, the Chiefs felt the same way. Okay, let's go to the next clip here. Anything else in this game? Any kind of Wayne Gallman? I've heard a lot of talk about him. I kind of like him, but you don't care.
Much rather have the 6K guys.
All right. Here's the next one. This one comes from the Swolecast. This comes from Davis Maddock, who's always so hilarious, man, on that show. And this is a player who he just says he hates without.
The Mazda lineup of SUVs will provide safety, performance, and capability on your journey ahead. From the 3-row Mazda CX-9 to the first ever Mazda CX-50, our sales team is ready to guide you to the SUV for your lifestyle. Shop the Omaha Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers at Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue or Woodhouse Place Mazda. Visit us online for your next Mazda SUV at woodhousemazda.com.
Even really giving any good reason for hating him. Let's go to the clip.
I think the chalkier players are going to be the high-priced wide receivers. Like I think Julio and Keenan are going to be the chalk just because of how cheap you have.
Good luck
the
with
running
Keenan,
back spot.
everybody. Good luck.
You're not playing Keenan in a must-win game?
It's just
he wasn't good last week. How's he going to be good this week?
No, I'm just annoyed with him. He's had 4 good games this year, and he's like, oh, guy's Julio Jones. I'm so sick of like watching him play football.
Oh, jeez. Davis might just play Todd Gurley just on the chance that he has to come in and score 40
Yeah, I'm
points.
playing.
Guys, I told you again.
He was awesome last week. How's he gonna mess it up this week?
Okay, there you have it. Davis Maddock on the Swolecast. He just says he's done with Keenan Allen. He says he's done with this guy. He's got no use for him. He's too annoyed with him. I think he said he's too annoyed with him or something. I don't know. Everybody else on the Swolecast really liked Keenan Allen. He's been, as I've been messing around with my lineups, I was telling Siege, I play 90% cash games, but this is a week where they've just suckered me in with this $80 $80 buy-in on the Millionaire Maker, which makes it seem a little more attainable to where I'm just tossing all my volume into entries into that deal. And I've put together a few lineups already, and Keenan Allen's made it into every single one that I've made. What do you think, Siege? Keenan Allen, a down week last week, but this week he gets the Raiders in a situation where there's motivation to win. I just see it as, if I'm looking to, every time I look down and I try and kind of mess with my lineup to see if there's any way I can maybe pay down a little bit less at wide receiver, to pay up a little bit more at running back, or just make some switches. Keenan Allen's a guy I just have trouble clicking out of my lineups. I really see him as having a terrific floor and just and the major ceiling that we've seen, especially over these last 4 or 5 weeks. Where are you on Keenan Allen?
I think Davis is going to be really frustrated with him again if he fades him.
I think so too, right? Yeah.
Melvin Gordon's super limited. I mean, they're going to have no other option but give Keenan Allen the ball.
Oh, man. I feel like Siege, you and I, for once this week, are going to have pretty similar lineups based on the way we feel about some of these players, especially if I get on to more Patrick Mahomes, for sure.
I mean, let's be clear. I'm not doing anything crazy with Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to be 30%-ish. I'm not going. I think a lot of people would. We'll talk about who else you like in this thing, but I mean, probably 30% that's going to be your highest owned quarterback. That's a significant portion of your outlay, right? I mean, 30%, that's a lot. I'm not going to have too many quarterbacks this week. I'm probably going to be pretty down 2 or 3, to be honest. I don't really. I either want the guys in contention, or I want a kid who's got upside. So for me, that's basically, not saying I'm on these guys, but that limits me to Julio. To Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Drew Brees. Forgetting a couple other obvious ones right now. Marcus Mariota, I hate him though, but that kind of situation, those are the guys I want to be on this week. I want my guy to have to be playing for something.
No mention of Jacoby Brissett and all that.
I just don't know. I'm not on the Brissett train. I don't get it.
He had his best game of the season versus Houston. He came out this week and said that we're talking about a guy who's playing for something. He says he's using this game to show the NFL that he deserves to be a quarterback in this league. I really like him this week. But anyway,
what do you mean a quarterback? Someone already traded for him, and they just let him start 16 games. He's a quarterback that belongs in the league. I don't think people are doubting that.
I'm not saying that people are doubting it. I'm saying that he's saying that he must feel in some way that people are doubting it for him to be able to make a statement like that. Maybe he's not motivated and he's just lying about being motivated. That could be the case. But it seems to me like he's motivated and he's going to play the whole game.
The Colts play so slow. What's the feeling on these guys? That Hilton game, he went off. The guy, he hit the ceiling because the guy didn't touch him down. Like,
yeah, these same crappy
on.
Texans. These same crappy Texans that can't do a thing.
Yeah,
they
but
give up all the
you know
biggest
that's
plays.
you know that's a fluke play, and you take that away, and you look at the numbers, and they're a lot more pedestrian. They just play so slow. It's not like I hate T.Y. Hilton. It's just that everyone's just like, oh, the Colts are going to get in a shootout. Like, when did the Colts get in a shootout this year? It happened like one time, and every week people want to like say the Colts are going to get in a shootout. Like, they just don't get in shootouts. This isn't 2006 with Peyton Manning anymore.
I mean, look, one of my biggest weeks of the whole season involved T.Y. Hilton. I know that one of the biggest weeks of the RotoGrinders season, whenever Cal Spears won the Millionaire Maker, I think that he had a bunch of stake in that game, wherever it was the San Francisco 49ers at the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, when in good situations with these Colts, you can do some things with them, I think, in fantasy. So,
but the 49ers are the fastest team on planet Earth. Like, you can't use that as your example.
Well, I mean, I feel like I can still use it as an example, even though you do make a legitimate point about the pace of play of the 49ers. And the 49ers is a team I'm going to want to ask you about anyway, because there's all the Malcolm Brown talk. There's all the Josh Reynolds talk.
I forgot about a certain quarterback that I'm going to have a ton of when I went through that rant.
Oh, don't tell me it's Sean Mannion, please. Don't tell me it's Sean Mannion. Okay.
We'll talk about that game when we get there.
If it's Sean Mannion, I'm turning off the computer. I'm shutting off the computer. I'm shutting it down for the season. Let's get to the next clip. This one comes from the Expert Square table with JM to win and Adam Levitan. These two had a disagreement about two runners that are right there in the same price range. Two that I have a lot of trouble myself, kind of weighing against one another. This is JM to win responding to Adam Levitan, who thought that he was being crazy to say that he liked Kenyon Drake this week better than Dion Lewis.
You know, to be completely honest, I haven't looked at the high end of the price range that much at running back because there's so much phenomenal value this week. I mean, so many guys, including a lot of guys who are going to go low owned, that are 20 touch players that I don't see the need on my own rosters to pay up. If I'm paying up, it'll probably be for just an ultra talent like Alvin Kamara, just somebody who can break the slate wide open. I was 100% on Dion Lewis last week, so it's not like I dislike the play. He was the very first. As soon as James White was announced as out, he was the first person locked onto my roster. So I'm not down on Dion Lewis as a player. Obviously, I'm a lifelong Patriots fan. I'm not down on the Patriots offense. I just if I'm going up there, I don't see as clear of a path to 30-plus points for Dion Lewis this week as I see for Kenyon Drake or for Alvin Kamara, LaShawn McCoy, some of these guys who could just get fed monster workloads and really take over a game.
All right, there you have it. That was JM to win from the Expert Square table that comes on Fridays right after the Swolecast. Great slate of programming on Friday nights, man. I'm gonna miss once this regular season ends. But maybe they'll have some kind of playoff shows or something. But that was that was JM to win. He was talking about, look, he likes Kenyon Drake this week better than Dion Lewis. I think we're at a point right now in the week where we're still, unless something has happened during this show, we're still at a point in the week as we record where we do not know exactly about James White. I'm sure Siege, being a Boston homer, is going to have his ideas and his thoughts about that. I love Kenyon Drake this week, too. I think if James White does not play, I just think that Dion Lewis is, we just saw the volume from last week. Siege, where are you on this? Do you think that the Patriots are worried at all about running, Dion Lewis for another 30 touches or something this week right before the playoffs? Are they worried about keeping him healthy? And then, how much Brandon Bolden could figure into the mix here if we don't have James White? Do you even think James White's going to play? Where are you on Dion Lewis?
One, let's talk about last week, because I think everyone has missed the boat after the fact because it was one of those things we didn't know at the time. Dion Lewis got all those carries because Gillislee was hurt.
And Gillislee's hurt again now. Gillislee's out.
He's out. Right.
Yeah.
So, he clearly was hurt and couldn't run last week. So that's why Dion Lewis got all those carries. They had no one else on the roster.
Yeah, we're in the same situation.
Laps and stuff. congratulations, you got the extra touchdown.
So wait, you're taking this opportunity to be bitter at everybody that played Lewis last week and bragged about it.
No, I'm just saying that, like, it's the people that said, like, oh, he's going to get 30 touches. Yeah, congratulations. When he was the only running back on the roster, he got 30 touches. Because hold on, there's a point to this.
Okay, all right.
because everyone's going to now assume if James White's back that, like, oh, he's still going to get 25 to 30 touches, and I don't think that's anything close to a lock. He did it last week because they had no other options. This week, there are other options there could be other options on the roster. I think James White goes. They didn't activate anyone off the practice squad that I'm aware of, so I think that means James White will be active. So, like, I like Dion Lewis. I think he's got a very high floor. But if you're projecting him for 26 to 30 touches again, I think you're doing that kind of wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard for me to know exactly, with the Patriots, with their injury reporting, exactly, what we can trust and what we can't trust. I mean, it looks like James White at least was limited in some practice this week, though, if you can trust what their injury reporting says. So, yeah, if James White's in, I'm going to be off Dion Lewis, and I'm going to like Kenyon Drake better. I like both running backs in this matchup. Do you have any interest in Shady in this matchup? I haven't heard people talk about him much. Jamino only has him at around 10% owned this week, and he's the player who in our model at rosterwatch.com actually showed up with the most trends of any running back. He popped in our model more than any other running back on the entire slate. Do you have any thoughts on Shady this week on the other side of the Kenyon Drake deal? And then what do you think about Kenyon Drake? Are you okay paying $7,200 for a guy like him?
Yeah, not on the Drake train this week. Not really something I'm having any interest in. McCoy, I like. It's just that I just don't know if I can pay the salary when there's just so many other options that are cheaper that can kind of get close to his production. Like, is Shady going to go for 40 and breaks the slate? I don't see that in the range of outcomes in this spot. I mean, I guess that's not true. I guess I do. I just don't think it's frequent enough to justify rostering him. I don't like the Bills to win this game. Like, I guess I should start there. So if I don't think they're going to win the game, then I kind of really don't want Shady a ton.
It took us 5 segments for me to get to the part where I talk about some of these props. Shady as I have these early props up for our pro members at rosterwatch.com. Shady at Miami is our number 7 matchup of the week via the Roster Watch proprietary matchup tool. He's 8,000. Rushing yards prop of 82.5 yards. Receptions prop of 3.5. 27.5 yards is the over-under for his receiving yards. So if you bake in a prorated portion of the 100-yard bonus there at 82.5, and you factor in the minus 150 touchdown odds, that's projected scoring via the transformation here in the Vegas cheat sheet at Roster Watch of 20.1 points via the prop. That's 2.51x value. That's actually tied for the 9th best value based on the Vegas prop of the 50. I only have 51 in here so far because I feel like props are going to be hard to come by until I don't know if we're going to have very many props this week anyway, just because with all the backup players playing. But Shady McCoy is certainly a player that Vegas likes this week. Also like Kenyon Drake, just while we're here in the props tool, his prop is for 72.5 rushing yards, 3.5 receptions, and 27.5 receiving yards himself, and minus 120 touchdown odds. So pretty close there for Kenyon Drake and LaShawn McCoy, but LaShawn McCoy is just a little bit better value at that 8K versus that 7,200. If you look on FanDuel, where the pricing is a lot cheaper for Kenyon Drake at just 7K on FanDuel, he's by far the best value option out of the whole 51 that I've collected props on thus far. So just something to keep in mind there. Siege, anything else on this game before we move on to the next one? Any interest in any of these wide receivers? And I've heard a lot of talk about Tyrod. You didn't mention him as a quarterback that you were looking at.
I don't like the Bills to win. I don't like the Bills to win the game.
Oh, okay. You think the crappy Dolphins are going to beat the Bills?
Yeah, it's going to be a very ugly affair, but I think the Dolphins pull it out.
And they're not going to make the playoffs because of the Peterman game? Those idiots. What idiots? We're going to the Chargers. This is the one team that could completely wreck a rookie with what idiots the Bills are. It's just unbelievable. Okay.
I love being a Patriots fan.
Well, just because you watch as other teams in the AFC East set their franchises back for years with stupid decisions over and over. Okay, just complete. Just what idiots. Okay, so let's go to the last clip here, and then Siege and I will hopefully get into some prop bets and some talk about some of the other plays here on the slate. Last week, Siege and I split our prop bets 1-to-1. He had Mark Ingram, point per dollar. I had Melvin Gordon. Big cha-ching for that one on me. The one that he won, though, of course, was the Carolina. Was it Carolina Tampa Bay last week? Yeah, the Carolina Tampa Bay over under versus the Dallas Seattle over under, for the total points. Siege ended up getting the higher number there, so Siege won that. We split those. We'll see what kind of action we can get today. Let's go to the final clip though quickly first. This one comes from the Sharp DFS analysis show. This was Chris Raybon on the show. He actually has a take on a running back who Siege has already said at one portion during this broadcast that he absolutely hates. Let's go to the clip.
Yeah, so, everyone's, all the talk is going to be about all these backups and all these low salary guys and all these situations and how to take advantage of that. But, one guy I'm looking at that hasn't really been talked about as much is Josh Gordon. I mean, Josh Gordon is, talk about motivation. The Browns, now they see kind of a light at the end of the tunnel where it looked like they for sure were going to go 0-16 if the Steelers were going to play their starters in this game and try to lock up that number 1 seed. But now with the Steelers resting players, you look at the Browns and they're all of a sudden they're highly motivated to come out and give it their all in this game because they could get a win, and nobody wants to be part of that 0-16 team. So I think you look at that, if the Steelers are resting players, they could potentially rest Joe Hayden, who struggled with injury this year. They could rest their other top corner, Artie Burns, as well. And I think this is a situation where, listen, Josh Gordon, he actually leads the league in market share of air yards this season for his team. So he's another guy that, even though the stats haven't always been there, Deshaun Kaiser has been inaccurate and whatnot, but Josh Gordon, 47% of Cleveland's air yards since he has returned, that leads the league. It's 1 percentage point higher than AJ Green. So I think Gordon has a ton of upside in this game. And if the Steelers are resting starters, that actually just improves the situation, even though the over-under went down. So maybe you kind of think the opposite, that this is just going to be kind of a game that you should just completely ignore. But I'm looking at it like, hey, the Steelers aren't really going to be motivated. The Steelers are going to be playing some backups, and the Browns are going to be highly motivated just because they don't want to go 0-16. And Gordon is their best player. He's getting, essentially half of all their air yards. So why not just kind of air it out and see what happens in this game if you're Cleveland and try to be aggressive and get this win. I think Josh Gordon has a ton of upside.
Okay, so that was a really bad throw to that clip by me. You're on I guess probably the last clip that we're going to have here on the season 1 of the DFS Roundup, in case there's some kind of playoff edition that I'm not aware of. But I had written down that was a pro Melvin Gordon take, not a pro Josh Gordon take. Siege was saying. He's saying Melvin Gordon's not even going to play. I said, I don't know. Certainly, that Josh Gordon makes a whole lot more sense. That Raybon was saying that, you got to be motivated to play if you're the Cleveland Browns, man. You don't want to lose to all these backups, dude. You can't lose to Landry Jones and Stephen Ridley to go 0-16. Siege, what's your take on Josh Gordon? Are you going to be on him this week?
Yep, I agree with Raybon 100%. That's my analysis. I don't really want to start promoting Josh Gordon because he's one of my favorite sleepers on the board, and I really don't want to give people reason to roster.
A lot of sharp people are on Josh Gordon, I think. I've talked to a lot of good DFS and fantasy players that are very interested in Josh Gordon this week. So I love Josh Gordon too. There are other guys that I just totally love too. So it's tough this week, man. We have 16 games. So while we have 16 games, while we still have a couple minutes here, another player who both of us love. I mean, I'm going to guess that you're finally off of Dede this week. The week he goes for 202, right?
Why would I be off Dede?
Oh, you're not? I thought you were worried about the Jags not playing their starters.
Yeah, but Hearns and Lee are their starters. He's still wide receiver 3 because that's how stupid they are.
So you're gonna play some Dede this week?
Absolutely.
I just don't want to get hurt, man. Like, I've been playing him every week. He's been disappointing every week. I know it's there. It's like it's been circumstance after circumstance that have swindled him. You know, did you see last week the touchdown where he went out on like the 6-inch line where he just would have extended a little bit more? It would have
he bullshit. He was out at the 6-yard line. He was in
6-inch line, and I think he could have been in.
He was in. He was in.
He needed to extend.
And then
he needed to extend more. Right, and then it's the Fournette or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if I lose by less than 6 points, I will forever hate the Jaguars franchise.
Yeah. So, and then the week before that, it was like he was poised to get the Keelan Cole monster. You know, that was Marquise Lee goes down. So look, it's been trending that way for D.D. Westbrook the whole time. I know that this is the D.D. Westbrook DFS Roundup, but we're going to be sticking with him again this week. I think Siege and I both still like him. Siege, as I look over the props tool here, a couple of guys who kind of stand out to me as far as props that I wasn't necessarily interested in before I saw the prop. The guy at the very top here is Peyton Barber versus New Orleans at 3,900. He has a 2.5 reception, 68.5 rushing plus receiving prop, and touchdown odds of plus 150. That's projected scoring via that prop of 11.75 DK points, which would be 3.01x value. Best on the board that I've gotten so far. I hate Peyton Barber. Do you like him?
I get it. Not the cut. Just probably not going to play him.
Do you think he represents a decent pivot off? And here's another one. What about the Rams and stuff? What about the Rams and the 49ers?
I am all about that game, including having a little bit of Sean Mannion.
I can't believe it. I told you I was going to turn off the computer. Sean Mannion sucks. He is
Yes,
awful.
he does.
Awful.
Yeah, you know what?
I remember his
the
Senior
49ers
Bowl.
defense.
Dude, that guy can't hit the broadside of a damn barn. I mean, and
since when the 49ers just let Marcus Mariota look like freaking Peyton Manning back there. Mariota's been awful all season.
Dude, I can't believe that we're talking about Marcus Mariota and Sean Mannion in the same sentence. Sean Mannion from Oregon State, like, this guy's terrible, dude. I mean, from his senior, for real, I thought that I came out of that guy's Senior Bowl thinking he was virtually undraftable. I just think that there's so many other things that I think Malcolm Brown, former Texas Longhorn, a guy who I watched, just a ton. I have to chart every play by every player in this whole program. Like, I think that Malcolm Brown's a good player. We've seen Malcolm Brown get work.
He is.
And I don't even want to play him because Sean Mannion sucks so bad.
Here's the thing: this game's shooting out. Who's going to stop anyone in this game? They're going to run a ton of plays. Neither team can stop anyone. This game is going to be 35-31. I will gladly take this total versus any total on the board. You let me know. Like, plus
This
or minus
total?
whatever the Vegas points are. I'll take the over in this game versus any total you want.
Okay, well, let me pull up a totals list here, and I'll see which ones I want. And I'm not saying I don't think the game might shoot out. While I'm looking this up, I assume that this means you're not on any of this talk about the San Francisco defense.
Nope. This
Down
game's
there at
shooting out.
2,100.
I am extremely confident that this game shoots out.
Okay.
I love Jimmy G this week too. I love this game.
So the over under in this one is, let's see, 43.5.
Okay.
Give me a minute to think about that one. We'll probably make a prop bet out of that. Any other players who you love this week? You said you love Patrick Mahomes. You want any action on him versus another quarterback? Point per dollar?
Yeah, you want Brissett?
I mean, no. I think you kind of talked me on more to more Patrick Mahomes. Do you like Jamal Williams? Do you like T.Y. Hilton? You don't really.
I'm not doing a prop. I'm not propping against T.Y. Hilton.
Do you like? Well, all right. So you you like the 49ers. Does that mean you like Marquise Goodwin a lot?
Yeah, but he's overpriced.
Okay, so you don't want to take any kind of point per dollar deal with him.
No, not really.
Do you like?
Is there any cheap quarterbacks? Is there any cheap quarterbacks you liked over Mahomes? Because I would gladly put some. I'll gladly wager for Mahomes.
I don't want to bet point per dollar Mahomes versus Brissett just because that $800 difference on DK.
Sure. I'll do it straight up.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll take that. I think he got. Yeah, straight up. It's kind of. I mean, I'll take a little equity there. That's fine. So that'll be. I think Siege. What are we at? You're up 7 on me. It was 7 last week.
Yeah.
We're up. So we'll see how that one goes, and then oh, dude, we have to do our bet, man. It's the week 17. I want tournament tactics for basketball, and then you get. I'll give you a lifetime subscription to Roster Watch. If
I want. What do you want it to be though?
Let's make it be the bet on the over-unders for those 2 games.
Oh,
so,
yeah. You have to pick a game. You got to pick a game, but I will gladly do it on that.
Okay, so you said 43.5 is what we're going with right now for the Rams and the 49ers. How about I will go with what is too bad? I mean, I was just wondering if I should go in this Houston Indy game at 41, whether I could look at all. I just don't think the Jets can score at all versus New England. Jacksonville, Tennessee, I'm not interested in. Maybe New Orleans, Tampa Bay, but that one's a 49 over under. How about this? How about Carolina and Atlanta?
Okay, what's the total?
45.
Okay. All right. I do like the over in that game a lot, but I said any game, you can have it.
I'll take it. Would you have liked it better if I took Buffalo and Miami at 42.5?
Oh God, yes.
You would have liked that better. All right. I'm glad that I'm glad that I chose the one that I had. So what's at stake at that is a season of basketball for tournament tactics and a lifetime subscription to Roster Watch Pro. That will bring episode 17 of the DFS weekly roundup here on RotoGrinders Live to an end. I think it might be the end of the season, Siege. If that's the case, brother, it's been awesome doing this with you this year. I hope they have us back to do it next year. I've had a ton of fun doing it with you and getting to know everybody here on the RG team and getting to be a small part of it through this show. So I just want to say thanks to you and thanks to everybody for having me be a part of it, and thanks to the chat and everybody who tuned in to watch. So for the Siege, CJ Kaltenbach, you can find him on Twitter at TheSeige DFS. You can find all of his content on RotoGrinders, his tournament tactics package in the marketplace here on RotoGrinders. I am Alex Dunlap. You can find me on Twitter at Alex Dunlap NFL. You can find all of my content with a pro membership at rosterwatch.com, where things are about to get live as I get on the road for the NFL draft season. We're going to have to hit the road for now. So this has been the Week 17 DFS Roundup for the Siege. I'm Alex. We are getting the hell out of here.